Why am I sitting in front of a picture of Gareth Southgate's face? Well, the video title might give it away. I'm evaluating someone else's video, but an interesting video which I thought brought up some interesting points about the whole Trent Alexander-Arnold thing. Their video from Squawker and Remedy, a good friend of mine, lovely guy, and someone who's very well worth talking to, a La Liga expert, as I would term him, and someone who's seen plenty more on the continent than a lot of other people out there. He made a video titled "Why Trent Needs to Leave Liverpool" and, in brackets, join Real Madrid. Let's get into the video and see what he says, because I think it's interesting, and I think you guys might be interested to see it too.
Year 2024 told us everything that we really needed to know.
Yeah, these are painful images to see if you're a Liverpool fan, because you thought that one way, we thought it was going from there to we thought the thoughts were going from him to him, but actually they were going the other way, and these two were just bonding to get him to Real Madrid. Interesting.
England moved Trent Alexander-Arnold from defence into midfield. They weren't trying to be clever whatsoever.
They were just trying to copy Liverpool, essentially.
England were trying to fix something that wasn't even broken in the first place.
Sure.
Instead of letting Trent actually be Trent, they tried to make him fit into a box, make him normal, make him safe. He doesn't have to defend, he doesn't have to track back. We're going to platform his qualities. That's what we were told, and that's barely what happened. Because in that moment, as Trent stood in midfield, you can really understand the whole story of his future playing out right in front of your eyes. Right. See, that's always been the thing with Trent, especially playing in England. Every time he shows us something that we've never seen before, people try to explain it in a way where they talk about his failures more than his successes. Every time...
I think Trent's been praised a lot. I love Remedy, so I'm not going to criticize him, because I think he makes some really good points, and I think he does get criticized a lot. But I think there are also a lot of people who then get kind of paired up with all those other people who do criticize, like us, and we don't very often criticize him unless it feels warranted. And of course, we're Liverpool fans, so we are allowed to criticize one of our own players.
See him break new ground, they try to pull him back to familiar territory. And unfortunately, that's just the sentiment around Trent Alexander-Arnold. So in this video, we're going to be talking about why it's finally time for Trent Alexander-Arnold to leave England, and why it's finally time for him to fulfill his full potential at Los Blancos.
This might anger some Liverpool fans, but I don't disagree. I do think he can still fulfill his full potential at Liverpool. I just think that it depends what your idea of his full potential is. If your idea of him is his full potential is to be a one-club man and to lead Liverpool to 8 Champions Leagues or whatever, sure. Maybe it's that your idea is you go to Real Madrid because you're a neutral and you want to see him in a different shirt just for kicks.
Let's take it back. What is Trent Alexander-Arnold as a player? He's a player that's completely redefined what it is to be a right back.
Under the tutelage of a manager who allowed him that and who coached that and who did that. I think that's one thing that gets lost in a lot of the analysis here. He's not just a player who redefined the position all on his own. His passing range was developed over time, and he was very much given the space to do that at Liverpool. We defended him during that period.
For me, as a fan of him, he's actually made me question why we even use positions anymore. Because when you watch him play...
Sure, we use positions because he's very much a right back. I'm just going to be honest there. He's very much a right back. There are a lot of people who say he's not a central midfielder. I disagreed. A couple of years ago, I suggested he could move into midfield. But the more I see him play, the more I think he's suited on this right-hand side of midfield rather than as a 6 or someone, a deep-lying playmaker on his own. I don't know if he's capable of that to work alone.
Yourself, do the normal rules of football apply to...
We've spoken about this on the channel. The normal rules of football do still apply to Trent, but there are other rules that he bends or breaks and is allowed to break by his managers, and that's why he's like what we call the bishop. He moves in diagonally, then out diagonally, and very often the overlapping run is, that's almost his most least used move, should we say.
He's not a defender who sometimes attacks. He's not a midfielder who sometimes defends. He's just a completely brand new footballer. He's like a quarterback when you watch the NFL. He's something that we've never seen before. As a rival fan, every time he picks up the ball, you can really feel the tension, not just from the opposition, but from all of the pundits waiting for a mistake as well.
Wow.
Any successful performance is always met with, but can he defend? What was his defensive?
I do think he is still a right back. And part of the issue here is, and I think one thing we should really evaluate, sometimes his defending or his positioning in that defending isn't good enough. And that's just a fact. Some other people might overcome that. Some other people might find ways to make up for that. But I just don't know if it's necessarily realistic to say he's only getting unnecessarily criticised. I don't think that's true. And, read this headline. Trent Alexander-Arnold's defending not good enough. He needs competition at Liverpool. I don't think they're wrong necessarily. I think we would have brought him in as competition and then put him into midfield. But, I guess that goes both ways, right?
Was like. Meanwhile, when you think about Kyle Walker, who's seen as this lord and savior of the English backline, he's arguably cost England in the last few tournaments.
Right.
Yet he still gets somehow praised for his recovery pace.
Yes, this is a very English idea, which I think is what D is about to say. Having said that, I've been in some of these frustrating conversations with people, and they seem to be being rewritten now as if we never did defend Trent in these conversations, as if we never did make these points at the time. These are points that if you're a Liverpool fan, you've been making them for a very long time.
Because that's the difference. In England, if you're fast enough to fix your own mistake, you're a hero. But if you're smart enough to create something new, all you are is a risk. And if we go deeper, this is actually where it gets incredibly complicated. Because Liverpool isn't just Trent's club, it's his home. Because the way Liverpool feels about football isn't like any other place. Football is not just a sport in Liverpool, it's an identity. Because when you have teams like United and Arsenal who have fans scattered all over the globe, not to say Liverpool don't, but it feels that their heart beats the strongest in the city.
And that's the case with most sets of fans, I'll just be honest here. I don't think Remedy, again, is wrong here. I do think he's right in the sense that it feels like a much more local club, and that's one of the appeals, of course, of being a global fan of Liverpool. You get to sort of in on that kind of identity. You feel a bit more local. You feel a bit more like you've got this core, this heart, this idea. I would also just say, though, Liverpool is also a global team. And, we don't always shout about that. I don't think that's always... I think we are a massive club globally and have a much bigger fan base than very often we talk about. Because it's just not in Liverpool's nature to say we are big commercially. That's not really what we brag about.
Always been proud of being different, being the ones that stand against all of the other English teams.
Sure.
It's what's made the club special, but it's also built walls.
Yeah.
I mean, the club, they get what Trent is trying to do. They've built their team around his unique talent alongside Mohamed Salah. But the rest of English football, it kind of just sees Trent as a problem that they need to fix.
Yeah.
We can take a step back and look at other players this has happened to. Look at what happened to the other players who dared to be different and didn't fit into the English box. Paul Scholes got shunted to the left wing because they couldn't handle a midfielder who thought differently.
I will say, at the time, that was a very contentious thing to do. If it had been 4-3-3, I think it would have been slightly different. But it was very contentious that they made space with Paul on that side and didn't move one of the other guys to that position. But fair enough, we'll keep on going.
Cole got the creativity coached out of him.
I think Cole lost it over time, but I get that.
Matt Letizia, who's arguably the most naturally gifted English player of his generation, barely got a look in for England because he didn't fit the template.
Also, there were plenty of other bigger people who possibly just fit slightly more obviously than Letizia, though it would have been amazing to see him more in that kit and obviously, able to then espouse his views.
Being unique isn't just a challenge, it's almost a curse. Because the treatment of said creative players in England almost tells us everything that we need to know. Because when a player follows the rules and adds something extra, they're praised for developing the game and improving. But when someone like Trent fundamentally changes those rules, they're seen as a player who has strong weaknesses and you cannot mitigate for such weaknesses. Because the story about Trent isn't just about his playing style, it's about English football's deep-seated fear of anything that challenges its core beliefs, and you can even stretch that to society as well. And that's where Real Madrid come into this picture, because they're not just a big club, they are the biggest football club in the entire world.
But I don't think, and here's what I'm hoping he sets up, is that Real Madrid don't go against that either. They have their own ideas of footballers. They give a lot of people a lot more space. Very often they buy conventionally good football. They buy people who are done, finished articles, those kind of things, because they fit those rules, or they've already done a lot of the hard work. And that's part of it here, and part of the frustration is a lot of the hard work to break out of that has been done. To then go, cool, we've done all the hard work, we've done all the defending, we've done all of the building up of Trent, we'll take it from here, feels a little bit frustrating and a little bit like he's turning his back on the club, but that's fair enough. Let's see what he says about Real Madrid.
Machine that's built to turn great players into legends. Every week in Madrid, some journalists will be breaking down Trent's passing angles, they'd be analysing his vision, and
Well, that's also because in the UK we just don't analyse those things as much. Liverpool have done it week in, week out. We've done it so much. I got bored of shouting about it because people are ultimately waiting for his downfall and calling you an idiot or whatever. I've been called idiot multiple times over this Trent thing.
celebrating what makes Trent Alexander-Arnold special. They wouldn't talk about what he isn't, they'd showcase what he is. Look at what they did with Vinicius Jr.
Sure.
after questioning his talent. Look at how they turned Benzema from a striker that everyone questioned into a Ballon d'Or winner.
Everyone wanted Benzema when they first signed him, by the way. I think this underdog thing that La Liga and Real Madrid sometimes do is a bit tiring now. Vinicius was one of the best players in the world, and you bought him because of that. Endrick, you're going to have a similar storyline. And frankly, there have been a lot of other casualties along the way who you've bought and just discarded and not looked after. So, let's just slow our roll a little there on Real Madrid, all right?
Madrid PR machine would understand something that English football really doesn't. Greatness needs to be shown to the world and not just hidden away on the pitch. At Madrid, every single brilliant pass Trent makes would be seen around the world for days. When he sprays those 60-meter passes, it wouldn't come with a, oh, but what about his defending? It would come with comparisons to Bellingham, to Zidane, to Beckham, to the greats who changed the way that we see football. Because
so I've got to admit, I do think in Liverpool's great era recently, we've not really evaluated players alongside those other great teams, because every time we're in the moment, we sort of go, well, they are the greatest team. They probably were one of the greatest Liverpool teams ever in recent years with Klopp. What I do find interesting about it is we don't really talk that much about comparisons. Maybe because we feel so reverent of those other people. Like, Kenny Dalglish was genuinely one of the best players ever to play the game in that era. And that Liverpool team was one of the greatest teams to play ever in that era. And the same goes for Gerrard. Like, he's very unique. And that makes it quite difficult to evaluate them. But we don't scream enough about some of our history. And I think that might be because we're still, learning how to market Liverpool, which is frustrating because obviously if we had more resource and we didn't just focus on the day-to-day running of the club or the on-pitch vision, maybe there would be more appeal to staying at Liverpool and, doubling down here.
Brutal truth about staying in England. It's not just about playing in a different league, in a different country, in a different system. It's about being trapped in a game that he can never win. Every game it's Trent versus Walker, Trent versus Reece James, Trent versus Timber. All of these right backs instantly get compared to Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, but he's won that. Every one of those comparisons he's won.
Comes a referendum on whether his way of playing is sustainable and acceptable. Because in Madrid, he wouldn't just be compared to right backs anymore. He'd be compared to the artists, the revolutionaries, to the players who changed the game. And do you want to know what the hardest part of all of this is? Liverpool's greatest strength in my eyes is its fierce local pride. Everyone is happy and everyone is there to support Liverpool. But on the other hand, you can see its resistance to the change in modern football. And that very quality can be the thing holding Trent back from becoming what he deserves to be.
Okay, so I agree with that to an extent. I don't know if we necessarily are resistant to change now. I think Liverpool have learned how to change and what modern football looks like. I think 20, maybe 30 years ago, we were more resistant to it because we didn't want to let go of that previous era. But I think Klopp made us very adaptable in terms of what we thought the players on the pitch should look like and be and to behave and those kind of things, because clearly we've changed that perception. I think if we're going to talk about it, let's not put too fine a point in it, because Liverpool is what feels like a little enclave in its own country almost. It isn't, but you get my point. We have to treat it differently as fans. We treat ourselves differently because we feel different to because we are different to those other football clubs. It's not because we feel different, it's because we are different. And those other people can't relate to that because they are different. But let's not get it twisted here. Liverpool have backed their man. It's just that simple.
Is the very authenticity that makes Liverpool special means that it can't really provide the global stage that a revolutionary talent like Trent Alexander-Arnold needs.
Having said that, why not combine those two things and make that alchemy, that's the beauty of football, the alchemy of football, the making gold from something that you didn't originally believe would be gold, make that the magic. That is what Liverpool have done throughout the eras. We've not just gone out and just bought the best players finished. We've done the alchemy. We did it with Coutinho. We did it with lots of other players. Someone in my comments the other day said, why can't we have a midfield like Gerrard, Coutinho, Alonso? And I said, well, Alonso came for a very cheap price during that era under Rafa Benitez, left for a bigger price. Coutinho came for a very cheap era arguably, again, rediscovered by Rafa Benitez, or sort of made more of a player by Rafa Benitez, because he was coached by Rafa, including the team of Rafa in Inter Milan. And then Gerrard came from the academy and was very much, I mean, you know, Rafa got some things wrong, but he was very much brought through by Rafa and evolved and developed by Rafa. Maybe not to the best of his ability, and maybe he suffered because of his loyalty in that time. But realistically, all three of those were very cheap discoveries, similar to Trent.
Because for Trent, leaving Liverpool would mean more than just changing teams. It's about choosing between staying loyal to where you're from and being loyal to your potential and what you want to be and what he deserves to be. Because
he can be both. This is, okay, this is where I get a little bit frustrated by this. That I get the point. But what I feel is, in saying that Trent is revolutionary, why do we then make him subscribe to old ways of becoming a great player with a massive institute such as Real Madrid? Why not say you're revolutionary, so be revolutionary here? Why not say that? Why not say grow your club with everything else? Why say the phrase
global stage that a revolutionary talent like Trent Alexander-Arnold needs?
Right. That's fair to an extent. But I also think it doesn't take into account where Liverpool want to be and where everyone else wants to be at Liverpool, and how he could help be that. And that's the frustration for me. Why make all this argument around revolution? And I'm not saying Remedy's wrong. I very much get his thinking here. But my frustration comes, why can't we apply that same narrative to Liverpool? Why say Trent is the revolutionary? Why not say Liverpool enabled that revolutionary, or are the revolutionaries themselves? Why not say that?
As for Trent, leaving Liverpool would mean more than just changing teams. It's about choosing between staying loyal to where you're from and being loyal to your potential and what you want to be and what he deserves.
He deserves it. So do we as fans.
Because yes, whilst Real Madrid can offer a brand new white shirt that's elegant, that's classy,
Real Madrid have acted in a completely classless manner in a lot of times. Real Madrid is not a classy club. We just keep saying that they are. And they've acted very classlessly multiple times. Stop with this old narrative of Madrid, which plays into tired, frankly, outdated narratives which go with the old ideas of the world. Why do we keep bowing to Madrid and putting Liverpool on the back burner? I don't understand. It makes no sense. And just because you say it doesn't make it true. I'm not talking to Rimini here. I'm talking to Real Madrid fans who have been having a go at me in my comments. It doesn't make it true.
Madrid offers freedom to the weight of English football's way of seeing the game. It's a chance for him to finally be understood, finally for him to become celebrated, and finally for Trent Alexander-Arnold to show the world what football can actually be. Because sometimes the hardest part of becoming who you're meant to be is leaving the place that made you who you are. And for him, becoming a legend might mean leaving home to find place where being different isn't just accepted, it's expected.
Yes.
Innovation isn't just tolerated, innovation is demanded.
Okay, so innovation to an extent is demanded. Then why have you gone for Carlo Ancelotti? Innovation to an extent is demanded. Then why have you gone for Kylian Mbappe? Innovation to an extent is demanded. Then why have you gone for Thibaut Courtois? Like, none of those things are innovative or revolutionary. They are all actually very much of the old guard, and like all of them, all the players talk about coming to an institution. These things are at odds with each other. Let's not pretend like we're revolutionizing anything. He's made Rimini has discovered and made something great, but I feel that my conclusion is different. Is we don't agree on what Real Madrid is. Even though what he's saying is right, it will be more on a global level. You will get more reward for it. That does not make you more revolutionary. Making more money does not make you more revolutionary. All right? Having more followers does not make you more revolutionary. If anything, it's because you appeal to more of the old ideas that people can automatically relate to from other parts of the world that you are those things. It's not because of revolution. It's because of those old ideas being reinforced in this way. And that's what frustrates me here. I'm not saying he's wrong. I think all of his conclusions are right about Trent. I think he does need to leave Liverpool if he wants to take this path. But I also think all of the ideas that Rim is saying here can also be applied to Liverpool. It would just look different. So why not apply those ideas and make it look different here? Tidy up your own town.
Madrid. And for Trent Alexander-Arnold, it's finally the opportunity for him to be recognized as the greatest fullback to ever touch the game of football.
He's not wrong. I think he's right about that. I think that's very accurate. I think all the things he said here are super prevalent, accurate, and fair. I just think the conclusion about Real Madrid, broadly, people go, oh, you're in denial or whatever. Broadly, it's not the only place that can do these, though it's the only place that can do it like Madrid does it, in the same way as Liverpool is the only place that can do it like Liverpool do it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Obviously, he's a friend of mine, so I'm more susceptible, should we say, or more open to his ideas. But at the same time, I'm willing to disagree with people, or I feel like I'm adding to what he is saying rather than taking away from it. I think he's a great guy, Trent and Remedy, and you should go and see more of his stuff. I'll put a link in the description to his stuff, to the Squawker original video, and I will chat to you guys in a little while. I feel like we've added something here to this, and I hope you agree. There's Patreon down there. There is also a Discord, and I'll chat to you guys in a little while. Much love. Bye.